This is a reformer class for my favorite client. My favorite client, that's me. I'm lying down on the reformer. I'm preparing the pelvis to find neutral. I tuck my pelvis, I tilt my pelvis from the low abs. I find the middle of my sacrum on the mat. For footwork, I open my toes, one fist width apart, and I hug my heels together. For footwork, I press out and come in, trying to maintain a dynamically stable pelvis. When I push out, I lengthen, and when I come in, I lengthen my spine. All the time hugging the heels. On the arches, I could have relaxed my front of the feet more. I hug the heels and I hug the foot bar with the outside of my feet. On the heels, now I'm hugging the foot bar with the outside of my heels. The knees should also open only as wide as the middle of the feet. I try that again. By coming in, I maintain knees over feet. Middle of the knee over the second and third toe joint. Footwork on heels. I try to hug my heels together and hug the foot bar with my heels. Stabilizing the feet, I try to push the forefoot away when I push out and pull it in to my shins when I come in. All the time maintaining pressure on the middle of my pelvis, in the center of my pelvis. For tendon stretch, I hug my big toe knuckles together too, to get a better midline. When I lower my heels and lift my heels, hugging the bar aligns my middle of the knee with the middle of my foot. All the time stabilizing the pelvis in the opposition of the moving legs. By hugging the heels, I hug the midline and I lengthen my spine along the midline. I try that again. The coming in, hugging the knees together but not closing them. For the 100, I remove the foot bar, lift myself up and lengthen my spine along the midline and lengthen the legs in opposition. Hugging the heels means hugging the inner thighs, means lengthening the spine away from the long legs. Rolling the shoulders on my back, I try to breathe into the whole rib cage. I see that my breathing into the front of the ribs is restricted. It might be the bra, but it can also be my speciality. But the front of my ribs don't move. I'm going to massage the spine with a short spine massage, removing 2 springs. Headpiece is down already. I shorten the straps and bring the feet in and hug the midline with the heels. When I press out, I hug the heels. When I lift my pelvis and spine, I hug the heels and the midline. When I bend my knees, I try to keep them closer. They should be more narrow than they are. I roll along the midline down into the mat. I try to maintain the natural neck curve by pressing my back of the head into the headpiece. I try to lift my pelvis to lift the legs. I try to roll my pelvis to roll the spine. For coordination, I lengthen the straps again. Along the midline, I lengthen back and push out. I open the legs away from the midline and hug them into the midline. When I open and close them, now 6 times, I try to lengthen back. I could have relaxed my feet a little more and got more low abdominals. Head reaches back, feet reach forward in opposition. For the rowing, I remove one spring and I'm pressing my legs away from the midline against the shoulder rests to get the midline of my body. I roll the pelvis back, open the arms, keep the pelvis like that when I push back. I round my spine and reach my spine over the legs. Here's some restriction with some paper towels. So again, rowing into the sternum. I could bend my knees more to sit more on top of the sit bones, then my pelvis could move better. For 90 degrees, I hinge back, come up onto the sit bones, reach arms and spine forward. When I push back with the arms, I keep reaching the spine. I roll my shoulders on my back, 90 degrees in my elbows. I try to maintain the 90 degrees by going back and lengthening the spine. I try to keep pushing out against the shoulder rests. Long spine with natural curves. Then I reach forward and make a C curve. The C curve reaches forward while the arms go back. I deepen my abs and reach my spine over the legs. Also here I could have bent my knees a little to get more freedom in my pelvis. For rowing 3 and 4 I turn around and should sit on top of my sit bones. My spine could be a little further back, and here also a slight bend in the knees would help me work the spine up more, better than this little hinge forward. Now watch in the rowing from the hips how I should round my, I can round my spine. Then I should roll up through the whole spine, reach for the sky, circle around and reach the spine up. This curved spine should roll up, and you see that parts of the spine just don't roll. I roll through the, not even through the bottom. The neck does its thing. For the shaving, I should sit on top of my sit bones and bring my spine vertical and not lean too much forward. When I stretch my arms, I reach the spine at the same time. Reaching the spine and reaching the arms to the ceiling should be one and the same thing. I could lift my knees a little more, hug my outside of the feet into the mat to get more freedom in the low back. For hug a tree, it's the same. I could pitch my upper body more back. Opening the chest, lifting the spine and hugging the midline. For the seated twist, I only use one handle. I sit cross-legged quite far back, and I try to start the twisting motion with my head, and the rest of the spine follows. By twisting the upper body, I try to work my pelvis in our position. The side I'm twisting to, I try to work to the opposite side. So when I twist now to the back of the reformer, I push the hip forward that I'm twisting to. The head initiates the movement, the rest of the spine follows. Going back, I start from down. This was a preparation for the swan on the box. I put the long box on the reformer, facing the foot bar. I align myself with the bridge of my nose on the over the foot bar, and I try to move my upper thoracic spine. As you can see, I'm moving more because that's available to me, but I should keep my rib cage down and move only the first 6 to 7 thoracic vertebra. I try to maintain a stable pelvis, in this case pubic bone to the nose, to keep lifting my legs. This is the preparation for pulling straps, because it should have the same spine like in the swan. It's just there's more weight on the arms. I have to pull instead of pushing. When I reach my arms back, I can reach my spine forward, roll my shoulders back, and try to get movement into the upper back. To keep the lower back from moving, I have to deepen my abdominals, the lower abdominals, continuously. Now for the T shape, I'm again restricted by space issues. So let's see how I'm going to do that. Now I see that I'm touching the foot corrector, which is really in my way. The arms are ear height. When I pull back, I lift my spine against the pulling arms. I'm adding a second spring for backstroke. I reach my arms and legs, hug the midline. I shouldn't come as high as I did. My tips of the shoulder blades, yes, should stay down, also when there is pressure from the spring. I don't know why I'm doing the breaststroke now. Yeah, perhaps I felt like moving the upper spine again. When I push out, I stay neutral, then I lift into my upper back. I could do this a little slower to work the upper back just below the neck. This odd order now brings me into the teaser, I guess. Yeah, right. I'm lying down over the box. Getting a little bit of tension on the straps and rolling through the spine up into the teaser. I should keep my torso still and move the arms. Then I'm rolling through pelvis, spine, down into the mat. I roll over the mat into the 100 position up, and then I reverse my circles and should keep my spine still in a lifted C curve. Legs and spine were still in this first variation. In this teaser, I'm lowering and lifting my legs, trying to maintain the C curve that's lifted, and moving my pelvis against the moving of my legs. Now I'm trying for the horseback transition, which is not very elegant. I could have stepped off the box. And here you will see I should be much more upright and the upper body more back to be able to get a strong midline connection. I'm hugging the box with my inner thighs. I should have a nice C-shaped spine, which is not very round in my case, but I think I could have done it rounder. But you will see in the short box with the first exercise, which is called round, that for me it's very hard to round my spine. I push the legs against the straps away from the midline. I move my pelvis to move my spine. Pubic bone to the nose. I can extend my spine because that's what it likes. For the straight back, I have only a limited range of motion, but when I realize I can move my pelvis, then it gets a little bigger, the movement. I'm pressing my head into my hands also for the twist and reach. When I twist to one side, I work my pelvis in opposition. I lengthen my spine in any case. I press my feet out into the straps. For the tree, I try to sit on the middle of my sit bones, lengthen my spine, and then I round myself over the leg. I round myself back, staying with the leg, stretching the leg up and rocking up again. And there I should move my spine when I come up again. I should move my low back, middle back, upper back. And there's almost no movement in the spine. Rolling up, should work the whole spine. And as I'm rushing through this, I don't even feel that there's not much movement. I can see it now. I move my pelvis, I stay with my leg, I stretch the leg, come up. All the while pressing my standing leg into the carriage. Perhaps this time I can go back and climb the leg down because my spine moves down. Yeah, I could have done more. And then I lift myself. For the side sit-ups, I try to square my pelvis and I go up and down, moving. I should be moving the whole spine. In the rotation, that's easier because I can keep the length. In the side sit-up, I should move the top of the spine, the middle spine, and even the lumbar spine. But as you can see, I'm keeping it rather stiff. I'm removing the box to prepare for long stretch series. There's going to be a pad on the high neck headpiece and a high foot bar. I'm reaching my spine while I push back. I try to hug the midline with my arms and with my feet. For the down stretch, I should hug my knees and my feet. I try to maintain my natural curves. For the upstretch, I remember that my right wrist was hurting a little, so I try to get the midline of the arms and the legs, but this keeps me from keeping the carriage still while I roll. I should push out, keep it still, roll through the spine, come in, keep it still, and roll through the spine. And it's again like in the tree, there are many parts of my spine that don't move. That's why the carriage moves. With the elephant, the spine can stay in a C-curve. This is easier to maintain here. I'm hugging the midline with my hands, feet, legs, and arms. For stomach massage, these are the worst pants ever. I think I'm going to throw them out after this workout. Should be a round spine, but as I'm feeling that my workout pants are sliding down, I'm not doing a really good job. I'm not very much concentrating on my low abs, only on the pants sliding down. And then I see that I don't move my ankles, which I should. I'm moving in my knees, so it's a really short stomach massage series. And I think I don't even twist. But now I have the round spine. For the advanced tendon stretch, I stand in the middle. I try to bring my pelvis over my feet and push the carriage with the whole body, deepening the abs and trying to keep pelvis over feet. which is not easy. I'm preparing the reformer for the exercise overhead. Simultaneously, I bring my arms down, lift my legs up to the ceiling and roll down slowly. I try to come up right away and roll my pelvis away from the spine. It would be easy to bring the legs overhead, parallel to the floor, then lift up. This is the harder version. Another love-hate thing are the semicircles. I roll through the top of my spine, and you see not much is moving but the carriage. Then I roll up again and come in. I always feel very tall in this exercise because I don't think I fit into this well. I can only make room when I lift my heels really high and overstretch my forefeet. It's the same parts of the spine here, but I guess if I do that more often, I will get some movement in the upper and middle thoracic too. At least the head position is okay. I'm looking up to the ceiling, maintaining a neutral neck, which is also healthy. Here I should have had a sliding t-shirt, but I wanted to watch my spine in this. This is now chest expansion, where I try to maintain pelvis over knees. The pelvis should go forward, should be over the knees more. I'm hugging the midline with my feet and with my knees. I try to lift out of my pelvis, lengthen my spine and bring the shoulders onto my back. For the thigh stretch, I try to do the same thing with 3 springs, a little further back, and I can push my feet into the mat. Trying to maintain natural curves, which is not easy because the spine wants to extend. That's what it loves. Mine. At least mine. Yeah, here at the end I lose control of my upper abdominals because I want to go into some extension, but yeah. Okay. Let's see what I do in arm circles. Another balancing exercise on the knees, where the spine should stay still. The arms are moving. Pelvic muscles stabilizing. Reverse the arm circles. And now I'm going to do the mermaid. When I bend towards the springs, I should lift the hip towards, lift the hips, the springs hip, to bring the hips from the shoulder rest side down. As you can see, my spine is extended. I should bring it more back. The side bend should move the whole spine, even the lumbar spine. To get this movement, I have to counteract with my pelvis. Now I'm thinking of what's next. I guess I'm deciding to prepare for long spinal massage and do some leg circles beforehand. But I think I'm going to do the tick-tock. Moving the pelvis to move the legs. Moving the head in opposition to get a deep side stretch. Doing some corkscrews with a lift of the pelvis in the middle. I could lift my legs over my head, which would be much easier than just lifting the pelvis to lift the legs. Now I'm ready for the leg circles. While circling the legs, I try to reach my spine back, finding my low abs, going away from the midline and into the midline. All this preparing for the long spinal massage. Again, I lift only as high as I can move my pelvis to move the legs. Now the spine should be warm for knee stretches, knees off. I try to maintain my C curve. I try to regain it every time I push out. I try to find it. When I come in, I try to maintain it. Long C curve. Hugging the heels together, hugging the feet and hugging the legs. Oh yeah, now I'm realizing I want to do footwork with the foot bar down. Strange. So this is footwork with only 2 springs. I reach away and try to make my own resistance to substitute for the other 2 springs that are not on. Now my ankles move, knees move, hips move. For the pelvic lift, I could use all the exercises before to find my neutral spine with a relaxed pelvis. But as you can see, it's a little in a posterior tilt. Now, the best exercise for the midline is the side split. I don't use a pad because I'm barefoot and have good traction on the wood and the upholstery. When I push out, I could have aligned the middle of my knee with the middle of my foot. To get that, I let my pelvis go in a little anterior tilt to keep my spine healthy and to keep my sacroiliac joints from clenching. I could use action on the outside of my feet more pressure on the outside of my feet. I step backwards down to maintain healthy knees. And now I think I'm trying to do star preparation, which also is a midline exercise. I'm reaching my spine while I push out and in. I'm standing on the outside of my foot, and as I do this rather quickly, it's not dangerous. I could have worked the reach of the spine more, hugging the midline of the upper leg, and that's it.